What would you do if your neighbor turned your home into a canvas for her fury? In the quiet suburb of Willow Creek, where picket fences gleamed and lawns were manicured to perfection, I thought I'd found peace. My name is Lila Harper, a single mother who'd escaped the chaos of city life to raise my daughter, Sophie, in a place where the air smelled of honeysuckle and neighbors waved with genuine smiles. But peace, I learned, is fragile, and in Willow Creek, it shattered the day Karen Delaney moved in next door. Karen was a storm in human form, sharp-tongued, perpetually aggrieved, and always armed with a complaint. Her pristine house, with its rose garden and polished shutters, was a facade for the chaos she carried. From the moment she arrived, she declared war on the neighborhood's tranquility. She'd scream at kids for skateboarding too loudly, berate Mr. Jenkins for his unkempt hedges, and once called the HOA because Mrs. Patel's wind chimes were an assault on her sanity. Nobody escaped her wrath, but for reasons I couldn't fathom, she fixated on me. Started small. Karen would glare over the fence as Sophie played in our backyard. Her lips pursed like she'd swallowed a lemon. She'd mutter about my gaudy flowerbeds rows of vibrant Karen roses, their coral petals a tribute to my late mother, who'd loved them fiercely. I ignored her, chalking it up to a bad day or a sour personality. But Karen's bad days stretched into weeks, then months, each one escalating her vendetta. She'd leave passive-aggressive notes in my mailbox. Your roses are an eyesore. Trim them, or your kid's laughter is disruptive. Sophie, only 8, started asking why the mean lady hated us. I had no answer. One sweltering July afternoon, the tension snapped. I was in the kitchen, kneading dough for Sophie's favorite cookies, when a shadow darkened my window. A noxious smell hit me first, rancid, like rotting fruit mixed with gasoline. Then came the sound, a hiss, like a snake spitting venom. I rushed to the window and froze. Karen stood in my front yard, a can of spray paint in her hand, dousing my picture window with black filth. Streaks of paint dripped like tears across the glass, obscuring the view of my roses. Her face was a mask of rage, eyes wild, mouth twisted into a snarl. "You think you're so perfect, Lila," she screamed. "This'll teach you." I flung open the door, heart pounding. "Karen, what the hell are you doing?" She spun toward me, paint can still raised. "You and your stupid flowers. You think you're better than me, flaunting them in my face." Her voice cracked, raw with something deeper than anger, pain, maybe, or desperation. Before I could respond, she dropped the can and stormed off, leaving a trail of paint splattered across my porch. The neighborhood watched in stunned silence. Old Mr. Jenkins, who'd seen it all from his porch, shook his head. Mrs. Patel, clutching her wind chimes, whispered, "She's lost it." I stood there, staring at the defaced window, my hands trembling. Sophie peeked out from behind me, her eyes wide. "Mommy, why does she hate us so much?" I didn't know, but I wasn't going to let Karen's rage define our home. I called the police, who arrived within the hour. They took one look at the damage, vandalism, plain and simple, and issued a citation. Karen's act of fury came with a price. An $80,000 fine for property damage and emotional distress, plus a court order to clean the mess herself. The judge, a stern woman with no patience for Karen's theatrics, made it clear, "You made the mess, Ms. Delaney. You'll scrub it clean." The next morning, Karen appeared in my yard, a bucket of soapy water at her feet, a scrub brush in her hand. The neighborhood gathered, not to help but to witness. She worked in silence, her movements jerky, her face a storm cloud. I watched from my porch, Sophie at my side, expecting to feel vindicated. But something about Karen's hunched shoulders, the way her hands shook as she scrubbed, stirred unease in me. This wasn't the triumph I'd imagined. That's when the twist came, in the form of a stranger named Clara. She was a wiry woman with gray-streaked hair and kind eyes, who approached me as Karen worked. "You're Lila, right?" she asked, her voice soft but steady. I nodded, wary. Clara glanced at Karen, then back at me. "I'm her sister. I haven't seen her in years, but I heard about this mess." Clara's story unraveled everything I thought I knew. Karen hadn't always been this way. She'd been a botanist once, passionate about flowers, especially Karen roses, the same ones I grew. But a decade ago, her husband died in a car accident, leaving her to raise their daughter alone. That daughter, Lily, loved those roses too, tending them with Karen in their garden. But Lily got sick of leukemia and the hospital bills piled up. Karen sold their home, the one with the rose garden, to pay for treatments that didn't work. Lily died at 16, and with her went Karen's love for flowers, for life, for anything that reminded her of what she'd lost. When she moved here, Clara said, "Your roses must have been like a knife in her heart. She sees Lily in every petal." I looked at Karen, still scrubbing, and saw her differently. The rage, the notes, the paint, it wasn't about me. It was grief, twisted and misdirected, erupting in ways she couldn't control. I felt a pang of guilt for not seeing it sooner, for not asking why. But I also felt anger at her for lashing out, at myself for assuming she was just cruel. "Doesn't excuse what she did," I said, my voice tight. "No," Clara agreed, "but it explains it." I sent Sophie inside and approached Karen. She froze, her scrub brush dripping suds onto the pavement. "What do you want?" she snapped, but her voice lacked its usual venom. "I didn't know about Lily," I said quietly. Her face crumpled, just for a second, before she rebuilt her walls. "Don't you dare pity me." "I don't, Elite. But I'm sorry. For your loss." She didn't respond, just turned back to the window, scrubbing harder. I walked away, my heart heavy. Over the next week, Karen finished cleaning, the paint fading but never fully gone, like a scar. The fine drained her savings, and whispers spread that she might lose her house. I should have felt justice had been served, but all I felt was a hollow ache. One evening, as the sun dipped low, I found a note in my mailbox, not in Karen's usual scrawl, but in Clara's neat handwriting. "She's leaving Willow Creek. She wanted you to have this." Tucked inside was a single Karen rose, its petals bruised but still beautiful. I stood there, clutching it, tears stinging my eyes. I didn't know if it was an apology or a goodbye, but it felt like both. Sophie tugged at my sleeve. "Can we plant it, Mommy?" I nodded, and we did, right beside my mother's roses. As we worked, I thought about Karen, her pain, her rage, her loss, and how it had spilled onto us all. I thought about forgiveness, how it's not a gift you give someone else but a weight you let go. I wasn't there yet, but maybe one day. Karen moved away the next week, her house left empty, her rose garden untended. Clara stopped by once more, promising to check on her sister, to help her find peace. I hoped she would, but I'd never know. The neighborhood returned to its quiet rhythm, but it wasn't the same. The roses bloomed, vibrant and unyielding, a reminder that beauty can grow from pain, but only if you let it. For me, the victory was bitter. Karen's punishment fit her crime, but it didn't erase the grief that fueled it. I looked at my window, now clean but forever marked by faint streaks, and saw not just her rage but her humanity, broken and raw. And in that reflection, I saw my own flawed, hopeful, and still reaching for light. Nd.